understand the audience, if we could go around real quick and if you could tell which school you're from and what your role is at that school. Want to start up this table?
Okay. Casey Phelps, work at Warren East High School in biology integrated science.
English? Okay.
Warren East English also.
Sir?
Barron County math.
Yeah.
Barron County, French and ECE.
Okay.
Warren Central Ag.
Warren Central Agriculture.
Ma'am?
Marley for TJ Greenwood High School, chemistry.
Okay.
I teach at Greenwood physics.
Physics?
Allen County Automotive.
Okay.
Sky CTC, Dean of Math and Science.
Okay, pleased to meet you. Where we at? There we go.
Warren East Math and Science, biology.
Okay.
Warren East Math.
Okay.
Warren East Middle School and Ross Middle, algebra and geometry.
Okay.
Warren
ma'am.
Central Math,
Okay.
Allen County Council.
Okay.
Butler County Math, Butler County and Sky, Math.
Okay. All right. Well, pleased to meet you all. Welcome to Stupp Bridge. Just by show of hands, who knew we existed before this? Okay. Ruben, I know you knew we existed. Stupp Bridge, what we do here is we make custom steel plate bridge girders, and that still may mean nothing to you. There's a picture there of our bridge girders going up in the field, but you'll get a better sense of that after we go through the tour today. But we're a custom fabrication shop on a very large scale. The products we make are very large because they are the backbone of most bridges that you drive across every day. We're going to talk a lot about manufacturing careers today. So everything we talk about is just going to be kind of geared towards manufacturing careers and in particular skilled trades. So to that end, the types of equipment we use here, we use manual arc welding machines. Have you all gotten to weld yet? Okay, so some of you have run a submerged arc? Yes. That's right, okay. All right, well, what you're going to see here is flux core, which is a type of arc welding. You're going to see submerged arc welding, which you all have done. And then shielded metal arc welding, which is also called stick welding. You're going to see some semi-automated welding machines that are PLC controlled. And you all probably know what PLC is now, I'm guessing? Tomorrow, okay. Well.
Keep it asleep.
So those are controlled by computer, that the operator sets the parameters for those machines. You're going to see some fully CNC plasma burning machines where the technician is programmed the cutting pattern off CAD model and downloaded it into the machine, and then it does its thing. You're going to see some fully CNC drilling machines today, and you'll see some PLC controlled shot blasting machines. In order to do what we do, we hire a lot of different types of people. We hire welders, it's probably what most people think of when they think of Stupp. CNC machinists, maintenance people, engineers, draftsmen, painters, shippers and material handlers, supervisors and managers, and then all the support staff and clerks and purchasing agents and human resources personnel. So to run any manufacturing operation, it just takes a wide variety of type of people that we hire. The education that's required can vary greatly. It ranges from a high school education or GED, a high school vo-tech education, which we're going to talk quite a bit about today, associate's degree from a school such as Sky in areas such as welding and industrial maintenance, and then in some cases bachelor's degrees, master's degrees. Generally, but not always, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, the higher the level of education, the higher the income potential, but that's not always true. So, while I'm not going to go through every type of position, I'm going to go through entry level and then some of the skilled trades in particular. So general labor, that's an entry level type position. Generally no education beyond high school or prior experience is required. But any work experience, where good attendance and work ethic was demonstrated is helpful. And then vo-tech education improves the chances of hiring for those types of positions. To give you an idea of what those types of positions make, they start around $13 an hour. and with experience, they go up to $18 an hour. I'm not trying to hire any of you all, by the way. Welders, obviously one of the skilled trades at minimum. A VOTEC education at the high school level is required. Associate's degree or certificate program from SCI or similar would increase the likelihood of hiring. The key thing there is we make people demonstrate their welding skill before we hire them into those positions. So they're going to have to demonstrate to us that they know how to weld proficiently before we hire them for those positions. Since that is a skilled trade, the pay for that is higher. It starts around $15 an hour. You get around 22 with experience. So here's a case where a welder can earn as much or more as some professions requiring a bachelor's degree with experience. So that's a message that we try to communicate to people at the middle and high school levels a lot, that there are these skilled trades in manufacturing that are very good earning positions. And welding is one of them. Demand for welders is high right now. We're always looking for good welders. In maintenance, here an associate's degree or certificate program from SCI or significant experience is generally going to be required. They start higher and can go higher. So in the case of industrial maintenance people, they can definitely earn more than what many bachelor's positions that require bachelor's degrees can earn. Demand for industrial maintenance, you might have heard this at other facilities, but it's very, very high. It's very difficult to find industrial maintenance people. In particular, even though we're not using a lot of robotics here, demand for industrial maintenance people with robotics and automation experience is especially high, and those are especially high-paying jobs. Other types of positions that we hire that are skilled, X-ray technicians and radiographers. We'll talk a little bit more about that out on the floor. Quality inspectors we'll talk more about, and then information systems and technology. Basically, every business has to have IT people. And then general skills, really, that we look for in all positions, basic addition, subtraction, fractional math, and basic geometry are skills that our general labor employees need. Good oral communication skills, good attendance, and good work ethic. As you can imagine, just attendance and work ethic are sometimes difficult to find in new employees. And then in some positions, good written and email communications and computer skills are required. So I apologize if some of you have seen this before, but I think it's a really good video which talks about skilled trades and the skilled trades gap that we have in the U.S. and continues to grow. So if you have seen it before, bear with me and you can watch it again with the rest of us.
Mike Rowe is the creator, executive producer, and host of Discovery Channel's Dirty Jobs.
That's true.
My wife thinks you're terrific.
Your wife has excellent taste. Give her my regards. And thank you officially for having me here today. It really is a thrill and an honor. One small thing, the credits for the show are very kind. In truth, I'm more of a guest. I've assumed the role of an apprentice on Dirty Jobs, and for the last 7 years or so, I've traveled to every state and worked in just about every industry with people you would otherwise never get a chance to know. They're anonymous folks, many times in small towns you wouldn't find on a map, who do the kinds of jobs that make civilized life possible for the rest of us. In the history of TV, it's probably the simplest show ever, but there's some very big themes that run through Dirty Jobs. And over the last 6 or 7 years, I've personally had a front row seat, and I've watched the headlines catch up to a lot of those themes. Thus, the simplest show in TV has become interesting in a way that I never anticipated or intended. I could talk certainly at length about any of the people I've met in the show, and I'm tempted to, but I'd rather take a small portion of my 5 minutes and tell you about my grandfather, because he's the reason ultimately that I decided to come here today. His name was Carl Noble, and he made his living in Baltimore as a master electrician. He was also a plumber and a mechanic, mason, carpenter. Everybody knew him as a jack of all trades. And I remember him mostly as a magician. For most of his life, my granddad woke up clean, and they came home dirty. And in between, he accomplished some things that were nothing short of miraculous to me. Some days he might reshingle a roof or rebuild a motor, run electricity, out to the barn. He helped build the church that I went to as a kid and the farmhouse that I grew up in. Basically, he could fix or build anything, but to my knowledge, he never once read the directions to anything. He just knew how stuff worked. I remember one Saturday morning when I was 12, I flushed the toilet in the same way I had been flushing it for 12 years. The toilet, however, responded in a way that was completely out of character. There was a rumbling sound followed by a distant gurgle, and then everything that had gone down reappeared in a rather violent and spectacular fashion. Naturally, my granddad was called in to investigate, and within the hour, I was invited to join he and my father, who was right behind me there, out in the front yard for about 12 hours of forced labor. There was pipe welding, and there was picks, and there was shovels, and there were blisters and laughter, and maybe some questionable language, but by sunset, we were completely filthy. The new pipe was installed, the dirt was back in the hole in our toilet, was back on its best behavior, and it was one of my favorite days ever. 30 years later in San Francisco, my toilet blew up again, and this time I didn't participate in the repair process. I just called my landlord, I left a check on the kitchen counter, and I went to work. And when I came home, the mess was cleaned up and the problem was solved. As for the actual plumber who did the work, I never even met him. It never occurred to me to meet him. What did occur to me that day was the fact that I had become disconnected from a lot of things that really used to fascinate me growing up. I no longer thought about where my food came from or how my electricity worked or who fixed my pipes or who made my clothes. I didn't think about who made anything. There was no reason to. I was less interested in how things got made, in fact, and more interested in how things got bought. Well, at this point, my granddad was well into his 80s. After a long visit with him one weekend, I decided to do a TV show in his honor. And today, 30 Jobs is still on the air, and I'm here before you guys hoping to say something useful. So here it is. I believe that we need a national PR campaign for skilled labor, like a big one. Something that addresses the widening skills gap head on and reconnects the country with the most important part of our workforce. Right now, American manufacturing is struggling to fill 200,000 vacant positions, I'm told. And there are 450,000 openings today in trades, transportation, and utilities. The skills gap seems real, and it's getting wider. In Alabama, a third of all skilled tradesmen are now over 55. They're retiring fast, and there's really nobody there to replace them. Alabama's not alone. A few months ago in Atlanta, I ran into Tom Vilsack, our Secretary of Agriculture. Tom told me about a governor he knows who was unable to move forward on the construction of a new power plant. The reason I thought was fascinating, it wasn't a lack of funds or a lack of support. It was a lack of qualified welders. In general, people are surprised that high unemployment can exist at the same time as a skilled labor shortage, but they shouldn't be. We've pretty much guaranteed it. In high schools, the vocational arts have all but vanished. We've elevated the importance of higher education to such a lofty perch that all other forms of knowledge are now labeled as alternative. Millions of parents and kids see apprenticeships and really valuable on-the-job training opportunities as vocational consolation prizes, best suited for those not cut out for a four-year degree. And still, we talk about creating millions of shovel-ready jobs for a society that doesn't really encourage people to pick up a shovel. In 100 different ways, I think we've slowly marginalized an entire category of critical professions, reshaping our expectations of a good job into something that no longer looks like work. A few years from now, an hour with a good plumber, if you can find one, is going to cost more than an hour with a good psychiatrist, at which point we'll probably all be in need of both. I wanted to come here today because guys like my granddad are no less important to civilized life than they were 50 years ago. Maybe they're in shorter supply today because we don't acknowledge them the way that we used to. We leave our check on the kitchen counter and hope the work gets done. That needs to change. My written testimony includes the details of several initiatives designed to close the skills gap, all of which I've had the privilege to participate in. Go Build Alabama, I Make America, my own modest effort.
My Wi-Fi is lagging more today than it did last week.
Through Dirty Jobs and Micro Works. I'm especially proud, though, today to announce Discover Your Skills. It's a broad-based initiative from Discovery Communications that I think can change perceptions in a really meaningful way. I encourage you to support these efforts because closing the skills gap doesn't just benefit future.
Well, that's the gist of it. I've been a strong advocate for several years. I came from Grayson County, and something I've done for several years is talk to all of the teachers in the school system and all the counselors, because they're really the ones that are influencing what opportunities are available for kids, whether it be college or skills training after high school. And what I had seen there, and I'm sure you all see too, I mean, there's a big push towards bachelor's degrees and towards 4 years degrees. But I think we're overlooking the opportunities in skilled trades which require two-year degrees, or skilled trades which could be obtained with VOTEC education in high school. So, you know, there's a lot more to Stupp Bridge, but really what I wanted to emphasize today with this group and have you all take back to the kids that you work with and the kids that you influence is there are other opportunities that don't require that 4-year college degree, and there's some really good opportunities. So that's really all I had to speak about before we went out, but I'd be glad to take any questions that anybody has. Yes, sir.
You know, in the future of these careers, it looks like to me that like the welding and industrial maintenance, you know, you talk about there's a high need, but it seems like the good prospect or the prospects for those jobs is always going to be high, because it's one of those things that doesn't matter what kind of trade deals we make with any country or anyone else, you have to have them here physically to do the work. So therefore, it seems like there's always going to be a strong need for that. So it's an encouraging thing for a student that goes into that to say, no, you can't, your skill can't be traded overseas, really.
Yeah, especially with infrastructure. I mean, I don't think, maybe we can, and I haven't figured out how yet, but I don't think we can outsource building a road to China or India. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's there's a lot of work in manufacturing and skilled trades that can't be outsourced away. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Is that video on
Yes, it gets on YouTube. I'm just playing it off YouTube. And I think there are other things like it out there too. But we struggle with filling welding positions, and every company I know struggles with filling industrial maintenance positions, CNC machining positions. I mean, you name it, skilled trades in manufacturing, everyone struggles to fill them. Which means they're wage competitive, and there are a lot of opportunities for people to find jobs in those areas. Any questions? I'd like to introduce Chris Pointer to you all. He's our plant manager here. He's actually going to be leading and doing most of the talking as we tour. You think of all the safety items.
Just have to wear hard hats, safety glasses, just be careful where you step. There are trip hazards from time to time.
We're only gonna take you through half the shop, because to walk this big of a group through the other half of the shop, there's just too many trip hazards. But we'll see quite a few things. When we get near the blast machines, I'm gonna caution you to watch your step, because the metal shot on the floor is very slick. So you don't want to slide your feet, because they might slide out from underneath, and you want to pick your feet up and set them down. Don't push anybody. All right, man. And then we'll keep the forklifts out of the way, but just be aware that there's forklift traffic out there. But we make a lot of different sizes of bridges. We make things as small as 2 feet deep and 60 feet long, up to 14 feet deep and 150 feet long. I think we've got a mix of product out there today, so you'll see some big bridge girders and some small bridge girders. Anybody been in downtown Louisville in the last 6 months? Okay. Don't get mad at us, but all those bridges going up, we don't put them up, but we built the steel structure for most of what's going up there. I think right now we're doing a bridge for Ohio right now. We've got a bridge for Kentucky going on in the shop right now, and just starting a bridge for Mississippi. We will ship bridges within about a 300-mile radius for sure. We'll ship some things out to a 500-mile radius, and then rarely we'll get out further than that because of the cost and difficulty in shipping. Anybody ever seen one of our bridge girders going down the road?
Mm-hmm. Probably pull out about 5 or 4 a.m. sometime.
Yeah, but about any time.
So is this the only location?
For Stupp Bridge?
Yes.
Yes, it's the only location of Stupp Bridge. We have competitors in different parts of the country that are servicing the regions they're in. And then the areas where our shipping radiuses overlap, we'll compete against one another. Yes, ma'am?
I just wanted to know how many bridge girder building companies are there in the United States?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna say less than 50.
There's probably 10 or 12 that we compete with, that we overlap in different parts of the country.
Are you the only ones in Kentucky?
Yeah. The only ones in Kentucky. I don't think there's anything in Tennessee. One was some in Arkansas, Alabama, North Carolina, Illinois, Indiana.
All the way around this, basically.
Yeah.
We're pretty centrally located.
Yeah.
So when you compete, you just try and beat other prices?
Mm-hmm. We sell, when the owners of most of our product are governments, either states in most cases, but in some cases cities or counties. They will, if they're going to build a bridge in their area, they will bid out the entire package, all the grade work and road work, and so a big contractor will get that bid, and then we bid the steel to those contractors that need to bid. So ultimately, the states own what we make, but there's a general contractor in between that we bid to. Then there's a sophisticated bridge welding code that dictates what we have to do and how we have to do it. If any of you are familiar with like ISO 9000, it's sort of like that, except it's a lot more detailed and technical. Like you can only get the temperature of the metal up to a certain temperature, so that you don't change it metallurgically and make it brittle. The welds have to be done a certain way, a certain size, and the edges have to be broken, so there's no stress risers. So there's a lot of detail that dictates how we do what we do. And we're not just out there throwing things together. There's a lot of engineering behind it, a lot of technology behind it.
Yeah. What you'll see is, they look like big pieces of metal, but there's a support for the bridge, and what we do is fabricate each piece, and we put it together, the exact same geometry and everything that'll be in the field, and then we take it back apart, ship it a piece at a time. So you'll see big girder pieces put together, and we put plates on there and drill the holes where it's gonna bolt back together. So
Do they do welding in the field? Do they weld parts back together in the field?
they do some minor welding, but most of the welding is done here. And everything we ship out will be bolted back together.
The main welds have to be x-rayed also to verify there's no defects inside of the weld. We'll talk a little bit more about that out there. But I'm sure you all will feel better knowing when you drive home over a bridge today that there's a lot of inspection that goes on, there's a lot of verification to assure that there's no structural defects in that bridge.
We have our own quality control here all the time, but the Department of Transportation or city, county, whoever it may be, it's gonna be the owner of the bridge, they have their inspectors here full time also. So we always have third-party inspection that watches what we're doing.
Okay, well, everyone needs to come get a hard hat and a